snow. You could walk out there and check it out.
Well, he was all fired up. I told him send an email to the show if he wants to complain about attire and what we're wearing and whether we're wearing sweatshirts or not sweatshirts.
It's fucked up here.
Just put it on and see
I
if
don't
you
remember the cord being on this side.
Then turn it around the other way.
Yeah, but then
because it says R and L. Well, it is what it is.
Then it hurts my feelings. And it makes me feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. Can you hear me now? Turn mine up a little bit because I can't hear a fucking thing.
I hear you loud and clear. Try it now.
I can hear you now. How about now? Can you hear me?
You're pretty loud there.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
See, now you're leaning in again, though. Don't lean in too far.
I have to lean in.
You don't have to lean in.
You can hear me. Now I'm way far away. Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you loud. And I'll even put mine a little further as I bang it around. All right. You ready to rock and roll?
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
And Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire. They have the frozen pizzas you can order, and as well as the pizza buffet, which we love.
Yes, we do.
So we're here this week. We're going to be talking a little Badgers, a little Packers, a little what's going on in the NFL, and the hot team in the NFL right now, the hottest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions, we're going to wrap up today's show with. But let's get started off with the Wisconsin Badgers.
Yeah. Not a great performance, Bill.
I think that's you saying it very politely.
I am trying to keep it clean because I have a hard time. I really get into the games and I tend to lose my shit, and then I'm no fun to be around. I was told when I watch football, Badgers especially, we're not doing well. But again, I'm not a fair weather fan, and we continue to support that team. And but we got some stuff to work on for sure.
Absolutely, it just wasn't. Especially after coming out of that Oregon game, we saw so many positive things. The one negative, and I hate. Part of me at times I feel like I get so negative on this show, but we're just pointing out what we see. Mm-hmm. I saw on social media a bunch of people, especially Oregon fans, and I think it was because it was in Camp Randall, posting the jump around. And even Badger fans were like, oh, look at Oregon's teams getting into it. And I'm like, that's not what it's fucking for.
Right.
That's not why they played Crazy Train at the beginning of the third quarter to get the other team fired up. That's not why the band plays after we score a touchdown to get the other team fired up.
Yes.
When we see opposing teams dance, in my mind, for how great jump around's been, I'm almost like fucking wash it, put it to the side,
and not only
get a new tradition.
Like when you're getting your teeth kicked in, and let's say you and I were on the opposing team from the Badgers when we played, and we were getting beat. I wouldn't jump around because I'm not into the game. Because there's no reason to celebrate, but they had reason to jump around and get into it.
And that is the difference. Is where. When we played and jump around was played, the other team was intimidated.
Yep.
They had no clue what was going on because that stadium erupted. Yeah. Where now it's more and you got to remember too, there was no phones back when we played. Right. Where now half the people aren't jumping; they're trying to videotape it.
Right.
It's like just go to fucking YouTube and pull the video off YouTube. Like if you're going to be there, take part in the experience. Try and get the team fired up. But I don't know. I almost think Madison and University of Wisconsin needs to move on to a new
Let me go a step further. Let's say Coach Alvarez wasn't the Badger coach and he was the coach of the team that we were on and we were playing against the Badgers. Do you think that any of us would have jumped around in that freaking stadium at that time? Are you kidding me?
Fuck no. Yeah. I remember, so the Penn State game was the second game. They played at Purdue, against Purdue, when Drew Brees, we talked about, broke the attempt completion record. Then the second game was when we kicked Penn State's ass to go to the first Rose Bowl. I remember in the offensive huddle, and I won't name his name to embarrass him, but there was a player on our team that started singing Jump Around. And it wasn't even Alvarez. It was Coach Huber goes, shut the fuck up and listen.
Yep.
And it was like, that was our attitude. And we were kicking their ass.
Right.
Like, we're like, let's go have fun for this fourth quarter.
It was a business.
Exactly.
And like, the fun part was the winning at the end.
Yes.
And the celebration, hanging out with the guys that you've been to war with. That was the fun part.
Yes.
Everything else was just a freaking formality.
Yep.
And did not partake, did not look around. I don't remember looking up in the stands.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Ever once.
And that's what's funny. Like, that's where I'm proud. Like, I never got on my kids' ass about it, but they know early, don't look. If you look, we're leaving.
Yep.
And when I go to games and see kids, whether it's basketball, football, wrestling, anything, it's like, what are you? But these kids, and I'm not trying to rip on other parents, but it's something about the parenting where the kids need the parents' approval or need to know they're there. It's like, you're out there to do an event. Do your event.
Yeah.
You'll see your parents afterwards. They'll see you afterwards. Like, they're cheering you on. Don't worry. But I hate seeing that when kids, especially at the college level, and we knew don't ever turn around.
Never turn around.
Never
turn around. Never wave. Never never acknowledge your high school friends that come to the game. You don't acknowledge them, even though they're yelling and busting your balls while you're on the field, and you can hear them clear as a bell. But you never ever acknowledge them because holy.
I think I talked early on, and I'll mention it was Joe Sparacino, Sean Cook, Jason Weibel, and I believe Jeff Majors. I think it was just the four of them were at the Ohio State game in the shoe. They got on the fucking field during pregames yelling, Ferrario! And I'm like, do not look. I'm just staring. And we were just doing pregame. Yep. And our Huber's like, who the fuck is that? And I'm like, I don't know. And I knew exactly who it was. And I was just, all I'm thinking as we're doing our pregame is, like, how did they get on the field? Like, am I going to have to bail them out of jail after this game? Like, knowing we're going right to the airport. But, all right, so back to the game. Wasn't pretty to say the least. I think this was the first loss to Nebraska in like 10 or 12, years. 10 years? Yep. 10 years, first loss. It was at home. First game post Phil Longo and the air raid offense. You thought maybe we're going to run the ball and do something different. We did not do that, did not accomplish that well. Our defense, which we were extremely impressed with Oregon, did not hold up against Nebraska. Vinny Anthony had 137 yards for Nebraska and a touchdown. Locke, at quarterback, he did have a good game. He had 174.8 passer rating, which I still don't understand the passer rating. We'll try and dive into that some show and explain that because I don't understand that, but it's high. And it's the second highest in his career. So numbers-wise, statistics-wise, he had a good game. But I just think everybody else just played like shit. Did not play to Nebraska's level in that game, in that moment, while a bowl game's on the line, while you're playing at home. Everything about it, we just didn't play.
And they only have 63 yards on 8 attempts.
Yes.
Not much of a running game.
No.
And again, when you can't have a running game and a passing game, and you would just rely on passing, the defense has the ability to sit back in a zone if they're not respecting the run because they didn't have to. So and
so we already mentioned defense played like crap. Special teams, which has been a highlight for us. Our kicker, who we've been raving about the last couple of weeks, misses 2 field goals, chip shots from 34 and 41 yards. Just overall, and then there's debates on Coach Fickle not kneeling before halftime, which led to a fumble and then getting a field goal. And I remember fans always say like, oh, go for it. And I remember the Northwestern game, I think it was 96 or true freshman year. Ron was playing. We didn't take a knee, handed the ball off, and it was one of Ron's very, very few fumbles in his college career. We fumbled it. They scored a touchdown before half.
Yep.
And at that moment, I realized there's a time to take a knee. And don't listen to fans. Don't listen to the armchair quarterbacks. But now, statistic-wise, what I pointed out was Nebraska had time of possession 6 minutes. They had the ball longer than us. And then what you picked up on.
First downs. We had 15 first downs to their 29. I mean, they were out there, first play of the game, ready to get things done.
Yes.
And it appears that we're a little slow going.
We just weren't converting.
And then we ended up ourselves in 3rd and long.
Yep.
So need to do a little better job on that.
Yep. So this week we got Minnesota. We're on a short week. We're playing them on Friday.
Hey, can you not cuss in front of me?
I'm sorry.
What the?
My bad. I totally fucking slipped up.
Totally.
The shitty team from the West we have on Friday.
Wow.
My bad. It was a slip. My bad.
Well, I'm offended.
Wait, I already made a post for this week.
Now I'm a little bit triggered.
I hear you. What? Well, it's Friday, 11 o'clock Central, 12 o'clock Eastern. It's in Camp Randall, which, we try and say, we said for Oregon, hopefully that's to our advantage, but it's the Axe. It's a battle border. They're playing like it's a Super Bowl. This is their bowl game. This is going to be a bigger game than whatever bowl game the shitty team from the West goes to. And we need to get a win if we want to play another football game.
And I promise you, they're going to show up here just to knock us out of and break our streak.
100%.
Again, it is that, and I hate that freaking state. I hate the team, but right now they have all the momentum. And as I'm reading through this too, Bill, I'm looking down here at this last statistic. The Wisconsin connections at Minnesota. Did you see there's 14 Wisconsin players on the Gophers roster right now?
Joe, you say it every week. We don't have the state on lockdown.
No, we don't.
The players are getting away.
And it's just like, do you want to know where our teammates are going? Where our good players are going?
Yep.
They're not staying home.
Yep.
And again, that was unheard of when I was in high school. We had 6 guys from my conference going to Wisconsin. It was just an automatic. I didn't care who offered me. Went to Wisconsin because
and I really can't think that team's beating us on NIL money either.
No.
So if they're going to a Michigan, Ohio State,
right.
You could argue they're just getting paid more.
Right.
But to that team, I can't, and I don't know for a fact how much they have in their collective or how much they're paying players, but I don't think that that's a factor. But yeah, that game's this Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. Battle for the Axe. It's going to be a big deal, and hopefully it's not the last game we talk about with the 2024 Badger football team.
I hope not.
Hey everybody, Bill Ferrario here, co-host of 217 South Mills. We've been getting a lot of requests, especially from my friends and family down in Florida, and technically people all over the country trying to figure out how to order this cabin coffee. And Joe provided us a way to do it. We've mentioned it on the show before, but I want to give you a little firsthand tutorial on what you're going to do. So right now, you are going to look at the link above and follow me. So you're going to go to Google, you're going to type in Cabin Coffee Altoona. Once you do that, just hit enter. You're going to see the website pop up on whatever search engine you have, Google or whatever. You see it right there. It's at the top, Cabin Coffee Altoona. We're going to click on that. You're going to be on the Cabin Coffee Altoona website. Scroll down to the bottom. You're going to see menus. And in the middle, there's going to be a bean menu. What we're going to do is click on the bean menu, and then you get to see all the different blends and coffees that are available. You're going to pick out what you want if you know right away what you would like to order. After that, remember the email, altoona@cabincoffee.net. altoona@cabincoffee.net. You're going to put that in your email for the two. For the subject line, I just put down coffee order so Joe knows when it comes up, it's a coffee order. You see my name there, Bill Ferrario. For the contact info, I did a dummy phone number because people are reaching out to us like crazy. That's our podcast phone number. And then lastly, you're going to put down what type of coffee blend you'd like. And Joe will take care of it for you. He'll reach out to you, and he'll get the order in the mail. Otherwise, put down what you typically drink, what you're interested in. Joe could talk to you via email or even give you a call and talk you through on what to order. Wish you the best. Enjoy that cabin coffee. Make it a great day.
Moving on to college football rankings. We got the AP top 25. Oregon 1, Ohio State 2. We got Big Ten teams, Penn State at 4, Indiana at 10, Illinois at 22. But then we also have, so last week's, the first college football ranking. They're coming out every Tuesday evening, I believe, 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock they come out. And the first college football ranking had Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Texas 3, Penn State 4, Indiana 5. There's your top 5, 4 Big Ten teams. Now, granted, that's Indiana prior to the loss against Ohio State. So they're definitely dropping out of 5, but they're going to still be in the
top 10. Probably.
I would guarantee they're still in the top 10, right. Top 12 for sure, which it's a 12-team playoff this year. But the rest of the playoffs round out from last Tuesday: Notre Dame 6, Alabama 7, Miami 8, Mississippi 9, Georgia 10, Tennessee 11, Boise State 12. Boise State I laugh at. Alabama, I pray, is knocked all the way out of, because they had another loss this week.
Right.
So Alabama's 8-3. There's no way they should be in the top 12 whatsoever. But yeah, that's our.
And then Illinois in top 25. And again, you can say how you want about Coach Bielema and how he left, blah 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 blah. But he's came to Illinois and he's putting the money where his mouth is and freaking getting shit done.
Yeah, he's making it work down there.
Good for him.
For sure. All right, on to the Packers. Packers had an exciting week. Just a game to rave about. Now, granted, 49ers didn't have Brock Purdy, didn't have Nick Bosa.
Right.
But at the same time, too, Matt LaFleur had a great quote, and I'm trying to say it. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but basically, you don't have to apologize for winning. And we talk about that. And a win is a win, and it's still the San Francisco 49ers that they had to beat. And Packers played really well in just about every aspect of the game.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you on that. I think Jordan Love looked pretty decent in the pocket, comfortable for the most part. Obviously, got some pressure on him. Got sacked twice. Kind of wasn't aware of his surroundings, but that happens. There's a lot going on in that very short amount of time if you're a quarterback. And again, I'm talking like I know I'm a quarterback, but I have no clue. But
we just know they got to get rid of the ball.
I can tell you in the trenches, there's a lot going on.
Exactly, and throw completions. Honestly, though, the pass offense was one of the only little bit lower aspect of the game where it's just for one reason or another. Overall, on the season and in the game, it's either Jordan Love's turning the ball over, receivers are dropping passes, or penalties.
Right.
Penalties have been stopping successful plays and successful drives
Correct.
for the Packers. But rushing-wise, Josh Jacobs, who they brought in to replace Aaron Jones, he's been a workhorse. This last week, he ran 126 yards on 26 carries and 3 touchdowns.
And
this
I love
guy's
watching.
just a
I
beast.
love watching
Just
him
a
run.
hard-
He's just a hard runner.
Yeah.
Puts his shoulder in, not scared to take on a hit. And I mean, he's not running out of bounds. He's going to lower his shoulder. And as an offensive lineman, you love that mentality. Like
Absolutely.
It makes you feel like you have another guy in the background or in the backfield that's just like you and your mentality. So I love watching him run.
I think we said last week that he runs. I forget how we phrased it. He runs harder and longer than his blockers block for him.
Correct.
And that's the truth. I mean, the O-line's been improving little by little, but he runs like he's running behind the best offensive line in the NFL, and he's not.
Right.
So, he's running phenomenal. Our rush defense was there. Basically, we knew to win this game, the quarterback, I'm not even sure who the quarterback was for the 49ers, but he had not started a game since, I believe it was 2021.
Yeah, it's Brandon Allen.
Okay. I think it was 3 years since he started, so I don't think there was that much fear that they were going to beat us on the pass. But Christian McCaffrey's back and basically stop McCaffrey, win the game. That's the attitude the defense went in with, and we did well. McCaffrey had a fumble, I believe, after a 23-yard gain, and then he also had a fumble on a reception. McCaffrey finished the game with 31 yards on 11 carries. Now, granted, he's coming back after an injury, but that's a successful rushing defense of game. Special teams did well. Coaching graded out well. The one thing that's popping up all over social media, and I didn't really dig into it that much, was the approach to the Packers coaching rotation, where I think we were only up 17, and we were rotating players in that really had never played before on the Packers defense. And so, you're winning. Yeah, it seems like the game's in hand, but fans are really losing their mind that players were playing that early in the game. So, you gotta say that's why the coaches get paid that kind of money to make those decisions.
And it's a long season, Bill. Exactly. And the last thing you want to do, you can always put them back in. And it sucks. Yep. I'm not going to lie to you. It sucks coming back out.
And they're not pulling the whole team. Right. This is just rotating in 1 or 2 guys, but they need that experience. I mean, come playoffs, let alone injuries, you got to give guys experience. I'm just saying the message boards were lighting up with that in respect to the coaches, which the coaching grades did grade out better than previous weeks, but that was the one complaint.
Now we're looking at, too, that we have a short week coming up here with the Green Bay. They're playing the Miami Dolphins, but they're playing on
Thanksgiving Day. Yep.
And it looks like they have 3 games in 12 days.
They do. So they just played on Sunday. They're playing Thanksgiving Day. Then they're playing the following Thursday against Detroit. And just for the audience that doesn't understand football in as much detail or doesn't understand what a short week is, when you play on a Thursday, your Thursday is a Sunday, your Wednesday is a Saturday, your Tuesday is a Friday. And that's the way you treat every minute of the day. So you got to rearrange your schedule, your mind, the way you sleep, the way you wake up, the way you go through your day, as if you're believing that Wednesday is really Saturday, and you're doing that. Then you finish the game on Thursday. You wake up Friday morning. Now Friday is Sunday because the next week you're playing on Thursday, which is another Sunday. So it's essentially 10 days of rearranging your schedule to make your mind and body believe it's a different day of the week than it actually is. So that's challenging. It's challenging in itself to do that once. They're doing it twice, and they're doing it twice in a span of 12 days.
And I think and you can obviously elaborate on this. I think the NFL, people don't realize how much time and it goes and effort goes into that. It's not a 9 to 5, buddy.
Absolutely. And people forget, because a lot of people played high school sports, and in high school, it's basically 2 hours a day during your deal. In college, you're watching film, you have meetings before practice, you're watching film on your own. But then when the NFL comes, people assume it's 2+ hours. And you're basically get everybody showing up at the stadium probably between the earliest would be 6, the average would be 6:30 to 7 o'clock. And then the earliest you leave is probably 4. The latest you leave is probably 10 p.m. And the average is probably 6 to 7 p.m. So you're spending 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for whatever it is, like 7 months, 8 months. And then even in the off season, it's not just 2 hours a day. You're doing rehab, you're doing film study, you're lifting, you're running, you're training, you're doing OTAs, you're doing mini camps. So now granted in the NFL, you probably do have a month to a month and a half where you're not doing anything. With football, it's just basically a 4 to 6 week vacation period. But guys are still, you got to somewhat stay in shape. You can't just show up, out of shape and overweight. The last thing I want to say with the Packers in the Thanksgiving Day game that I remembered from my days playing with the Packers was 2002. We played in Detroit against Detroit. We beat them. I was playing the jumbo tight end package on short yards and goal line. I believe we scored 2 or 3 touchdowns with that package. Amon Green won player of the game and got the John Madden turkey or turducken, whatever they call it, turducken. And I ended up getting a leg off the turducken because I was in on the short yard goal line package. Amon ran over my side like 2 or 3 times for touchdowns. So I got a turducken. Was not on TV, but got a turducken. Hey, Joe, it's November. What's the drink of the month at Cabin Coffee Altoona?
This month is the gingerbread cabin mocha.
Ooh, is that made with real gingers?
We tried. They kept on trying to steal the soul of the recipe.
What's it really made with then?
Gingerbread syrup, dark chocolate, and 2 shots of espresso, steamed milk of your choice, whipped cream.
Sounds good. I'll give it a try next time at Cabin Coffee Altoona.
Watch out for those gingers.
Next up, the hot thing we've been seeing on social media is NFL player salaries. So we just wanted to touch base. Some of them are mind-blowing. I believe they're deserving, but we just want to shoot out some of the ones that we see. So for the per-year average, you got Dak Prescott, number 1, with $60 million per year, which, I mean, good for him, earning his money, but Cowboys just aren't performing on the field. So it's funny seeing him at number 1. You got Trevor Lawrence at number 2, which also Jags aren't performing, but he was number 1 pick. How they re-signed him to that much money as opposed to building around the team to try and get him better assets on the team.
You look at Jordan Love is number 4. So you have Joe Burrow and Jordan Love are tied at $55 million a year.
Correct. You got Jared Goff at $53 million, who's lighting it up. Patrick Mahomes is down the list around 10 at $45 million. But then the difference is that's $45 million he's making per year, but his contract blows everybody else out of the water. Where the highest contract below Mahomes is Joe Burrow, I believe, at $275 million. Patrick Mahomes is at just about $500 million at $450 million.
The one that bothers me is the Deshaun Watson.
I think that bothers every sports fan out there. How the Cleveland Browns decided to do that.
So it's $46 million a year, and is guaranteed 100% of that contract.
Yes, 100% of $230 million.
Yeah,
and the Cleveland Browns signed him to this $230 million, 100% guaranteed contract after all the allegations.
Yes.
Now, me and you both know, obviously, there's some truth.
Right.
They are just allegations. He wasn't found guilty. But if you get alligated against, I'll make up a word, that many freaking times, there has to be some truth. You just can't find that many people to lie over and over. And I think it was like 20-some allegations.
I think at that point in time, you look in the mirror and reflect a little bit and say, what am I doing wrong here and how can I improve?
But don't you also think the Cleveland Browns should look in the mirror and reflect before they offer that kind of – and it's like it's one thing to offer that much money to get him, but guaranteed.
Yep.
And now Deshaun Watson's injured too. So, that's funny as well. The first non-quarterback on this list from most money down is Nick Bosa, which is impressive. He's at $170 million contract, $34 million per year. And then we have a former Badger at number 31 on the list with a $125 million contract, $28 million per year. But Joe, what's the interesting thing we found out about TJ Watt?
What did we find out about TJ Watt?
All right. You forgot short-term memory here. He has the second highest guaranteed contract out of every current player in the NFL, with 71% of his contract guaranteed, which is very impressive by TJ and his agent, because pretty much everybody else other than Deshaun Watson and TJ Watt, you have Tyreek Hill at 60%, you got AJ Brown at 53%, You got it. Most of the quarterbacks are hovering just above 50%.
Yep.
But yeah, you got TJ Watt at 71% guaranteed, which is impressive.
But then you have Devontae Adams with the Jets at $28 million a year, and then he's at one of the lower ones with guaranteed 16.3.
Correct. Yeah. So you want that money, you got to earn it.
Gotta earn it.
You know. Now, most earned overall. Obviously, everybody knows Tom Brady is going to be on that list. Tom Brady is number one on the list with $332,900,000 and change. But it took Tom Brady 22 years to earn that money.
And you actually have Aaron Rodgers on there.
Number two on the list.
Number two on the list at $305 million?
305, yep. 18 years.
18 years.
And still kicking.
Yep.
The most impressive one I saw on the list, though, was number three, Matt Stafford. He's at just over $300 million. But here's the kicker. He's done that in 14 years, and he's still playing. Absolutely. So that dude gets another probably year on his contract, and he's going to be he'll be the number one highest earned money throughout the NFL.
And number four, you're going to have Matt Ryan, a quarterback, at $291 million, and he started in 2008, so still playing. And then the last on the list is Drew Brees at $269 and change million. And obviously he's retired now, but they did that in about a 20-year season span. So
Brees is big with, I believe, Jimmy John's. I think he owns a bunch of Jimmy John franchises.
Really?
I almost want to reach out to him because I blocked for him in the Hula Bowl, the college all-star game. Yep. And, we hit it off for that week. I should be like, hey.
You remember who I am?
Hook up. I'm not going to start there. I'm going to be like, hey, we run a nationally renowned, a little bit globally renowned podcast. Why don't you hook 217 South Mills up with a couple Jimmy John's vouchers or gift cards?
I agree.
So, last but not least, the hottest team in the NFL
right now,
the Detroit Lions.
And I tell you what, I watched that coach talk, Dan Campbell. I watched him in his interview. The amount of swagger that guy brings into a locker room and the attitude he brings of like, dude, I would play for that guy right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, injured and crippled and all, I would hobble out on the field for that guy.
We said last podcast, he's got the attitude. Players respond to him. He was a former player.
Yep.
So I just think former players are taking over coaching like nobody's business. And I think owners are seeing it. Colleges are seeing it. In the next 20 years, I think it's all going to be former players. I just feel like the players that are playing for them, they gravitate towards them. They respect them more. They buy into it faster and easier. But the other kicker that we mentioned last episode that I just can't get over is Dan Campbell was on that 0-16 team. And I think a lot of that attitude comes from that 0-16 season. And it was at the tail end of his career, if not his final season. And you could just see it in him. Like that's where his love for these players, he wants them to experience the winning. He wants them to experience all the greatness. And the first thing that I pulled was the injury list. It is crazy how many players are on the injured list, how many good players are on the injured list. And Detroit just keeps coming back. They keep doing what they have to do. My most amazing player on it is Aiden Hutchinson, who went on IR October 19th, and he's still number 5 on the 2024 sack list.
Correct.
Just impressive.
So 21 players on their injured.
They're all not on IR, but 21 players injured.
That are injured.
Yeah, and I think the majority of them, I'd say probably of the 21, 12 to 15 are on IR.
Yep.
The rest are coming back. Questionable for this week. But yeah, I think this week alone, there's probably 6 that are questionable. So to continue on this Detroit Lions, why they're hot, why they're successful, it's looking at the stats and their stats versus their opponent's stats so far this season. The first stat that stood out to me is the turnover ratio. They're winning the turnover battle by 9. They're winning 9 more turnovers than their opponents.
I guess for me, it's the total offense. 4,337 total offensive yards compared to 3,543 as opponents.
They have almost 1,000 more yards. And then of those yards, you look at touchdowns. The Detroit Lions have 45 touchdowns this season. Their opponents only have 17. Now, you talk about that defense, and we had talked about it on the phone the other day. I feel bad. I forget the guy's name, but their defensive coordinator in the last game, so he's had 10 quarters without giving up a touchdown. There's a classic picture of him sitting on the bench with his legs crossed And I think the picture didn't have the game clock in it, but one of the videos I saw did. There was 4 minutes on the game clock, and he's just sitting there just chilling.
Yeah.
Like, they got it.
You know what?
I know what they're doing.
When you have that much confidence in your players,
Absolutely,
and you are jiving and gelling as a team, like, good for him. And I don't think he was out of like swagger or out of like, hey, watch this. It's just like, you know what? I've done my coaching. My guys know what they're doing. You know what? I'm going to sit back and enjoy this moment for myself. So good for him. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed that, and I wasn't offended. Like, oh, look at this guy.
Exactly.
Who does he think he is, sitting on the sideline, on the bench, having a Coke and a smile while his team's out there?
Exactly. The last stat, though, that we didn't mention, which is also huge, third down conversions. The Detroit Lions are converting 47% of their third down conversions versus their opponents at 28. So they are keeping the ball. They're staying on the field. That's allowing them to get the yards, get the touchdowns, and while you win the turnover battle, you win the game.
Absolutely.
All right, here's the best comparison for fans out there that don't know football. Everybody truly believes the Chiefs are the team to beat in the NFL. Everybody sees Patrick Mahomes. They see the Chiefs. They've won a couple Super Bowls, and that's what the sports media is pushing the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Sports media pushes Patrick Mahomes, and they're trying to – it's almost like the sports media isn't believing in the Detroit Lions. Right. And the first one here, the stat is wins by 7 points or less. The Chiefs have 8 wins by 7 points or less. Mm-hmm. Detroit Lions only have 4. So that means they're definitely outscoring their opponents. Though, and you can take it.
Points difference is the Lions are 177 points, like outscoring their opponents, compared to the Chiefs are 52.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's absolutely crazy.
And again, you can go back to like, and this has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, because obviously I like Andy Reid too as a coach, so I'm not busting anybody's balls. No, but
it's the persona.
It is the persona. Like the underdogs. Are the Lions a flash in the pan this year? No, they're the real deal, and they come to play, and they bought into the program, and the coach who played for the Lions in their losing season is re-energizing that whole freaking team and the city. So good for him. I'm a super big fan of Dan Campbell.
Absolutely. Now, the last thing to prove that point, you hear almost everybody, I'd say under the age of 35 or 30, oh, Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves throwing around the term the GOAT, and that's what they're calling him right now. And Jared Goff, when LA and Detroit made the trade Stafford for Goff, and they switched teams and Goff came to Detroit, it was pretty much sports media saying putting Goff out to pasture, that he was done. Couldn't get it done in LA. He's going to Detroit for his last few years.
Finish out his career and drift off into the sunset.
Now you look at stats between those two, comparing them head-to-head this season, passing stats.
You have Pat Mahomes at 69.8.
Completion percentage.
Yep. And then you have Jared Goff at 72.9.
Total yards, Mahomes at 2,600, Goff at 2,700.
Mm-hmm. So basically what we're saying here is Jared Goff is beating Patrick Mahomes in pretty much every category possible.
He is beating him. The only categories Patrick Mahomes outdoes Goff is completions at 266, but also attempts at 381. The percentage, which is the ultimate factor, Goff wins by 3% better than Patrick Mahomes, and he basically has every stat: percentage, completion percentage, total yards, yards per attempt, touchdowns, less interceptions, and less sacks. That's nice. Goff, statistically, is the better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. And to our point, Detroit is just a team nobody wants to play right now. Right. They're scared of the team. They're scared of the coaching staff. They're scared of being embarrassed because Detroit won't let up. Right. Detroit will be up by 3 on you in the fourth quarter. They want to be up by 4. Mm-hmm. They're going to punch another one in. They're not going for the field goal. They're going for the touchdown. Right. And players are coming out. Like, to me, that's weakness. That's intimidation. That players are coming out being like, why do they have to score that many? Why do they have to keep their starters in? Are you shitting me? This is regular season.
So stop it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want them to do it? Stop them.
And pretty damn good for Jared Goff, who's going to be put out the pasture in Detroit and live out his days on the farm. So good for him.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything that people don't know by now, but it's a fact. The Super Bowl is coming through Detroit. You want to win the Super Bowl, you got to beat Detroit. I don't give a shit if you're Kansas City, if you're Buffalo, if you're the Eagles, Vikings, Packers, anybody,
Mm-hmm.
you got to beat Detroit. If you can't beat Detroit, you ain't getting a ring this year.
Mm-hmm.
You're finishing your year with a loss. So
I hope they continue it up because it's been a long time since they have
it's
made an appearance
going to
and
be
showed up
yeah.
and make it. So
And they've had, and it's amazing. Like I grew up when I was a young kid, I was a Lions fan because Mark Spindler, a guy from my high school, played for the Lions. So I was a Lions fan when Barry Sanders was with the Lions, arguably the best or the second best running back ever to play the game of football. And boy, there were some phenomenal years with the Lions. They just couldn't win in the playoffs, couldn't get it done, couldn't make the playoffs while they had the best running back, arguably ever. Granted, they probably had the worst O-line at the time,
right?
But yeah, they've had some good years. They've had some great players, but this year it's just, it goes back to what you say. It's Dan Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference.
That is the catalyst right there.
That is.
Yeah, it's kind of nice too. Aaron Gibson played for Detroit.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then not
got
so
drafted
great
by
years.
Detroit.
Yep. And then with Soup Campbell, I think
Lamar Soup Campbell played for them. Yeah, we had a linebacker. I think it was DeAndre Levy, a Badger linebacker that played for Detroit. We've had a couple guys play for Detroit, and I guarantee they are thrilled with this organization doing it this way. But for us now, past our playing days, it's just fun to watch a team do it the way they're doing it. Mm-hmm. It's a team that any good, hardworking athlete would want to play for. Like, take the who you're a fan of out of it. It's a coaching staff you'd want to play for. It's teammates you'd want to play beside. And they're killing it. I mean, they're killing it on the field. They're killing it coaches. They're killing it in the media, the way they address the media. They're killing it in, and I'm glad I said this, in touchdown celebrations. Their celebrations are off the chart, from the guy doing the headstand. They got the Matrix, where looks like he's floating in air. And then they got the Deion Branch, and I had my daughter at the game where he gave the finger to the crowd for the targeting penalty, which myself and a bunch of the other former players did not think was targeting. But the funniest of all, and I'm not sure the player's name, that grabbed himself when he flew into the end zone, he got penalized for that celebration, which until the penalty came, it wasn't that big of a deal. But he got penalized $11,000 in change for grabbing himself as he crossed the goal line. And then the more I looked into that, once the penalty came out, the NFL also has social media pages, and the NFL's YouTube page, which I believe is called NFL Celebrations, has the picture that he got fined for as the thumbnail cover for that YouTube reel.
Gee, Bill, it sounds like a business to me. Doesn't it?
I hear you. Multi-billion-dollar business. So I think that's this week.
Wraps it up.
I think we are going to wrap it up.
Yep.
We got some work to do. We got some photo shoots that are going to be dropping in the next couple weeks through the next couple months. And we got to get working taking some photos that I think fans are going to appreciate when they get released. So stay tuned for those. I think the first one should probably be released in about 3 weeks. And we'll probably have a multi-day release on that. Then we got the next batch coming out this winter. We're going to be releasing some photos. So I think everybody's going to really enjoy it.
I think so too. And for all you deer hunters out there, be safe and be smart and good luck.
Aim small, miss small.
Aim small, miss small. It's a great movie quote. And so just be safe, and that's about it.
Sounds good. Well, we'd like to thank our sponsors one last time. Thanks to Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way, Frozen Pizzas, Pizza Buffet, and our favorite pizza in the state of Wisconsin.
And, of course, to Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin. You guys, we are still taking coffee orders right now. We've talked about how to do that. Make sure you reach out to us. It's a great stocking stuffer. It's great for gifts. And just make sure you go into the Altoona website and give us a call, and email me or give me a call, and I'll make sure the order gets filled to you and sent out as soon as possible.
We got all the instructions on the commercial, so just rewind this episode, and you got a step-by-step commercial for you.
All right, folks, have a good one.
See you next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of 217 South Mills.
If you like what you heard, smash the like and follow buttons on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Cabin Coffee Altoona. Tune in next time, folks.